There are mermaids from different cultures with very different appearances and different characteristics. In China, mermaids are considered intelligent and beautiful creatures. They are also believed to be able to turn tears into pearls. The mermaids in Korea are optimistic creatures who foretell storms and impending disasters. Mermaids in Japan have a rather pessimistic effect. It was believed that if a beached mermaid was found in Japan, a war would soon break out. In Brazil, mermaids are believed to be responsible for the disappearance of people in the rainforest. In addition to all this, Hinduism and some other beliefs have recognized mermaids as goddesses. As a result, the myth of the mermaid has been around for thousands of years and continues to live on today. Mermaids are mythical beings depicted as half human and half fish. Unique creatures with the upper part of their body resembling a female human and the lower part resembling a fish. So where are these mysterious creatures? What happened to the mermaids? How did these creatures appear and how did they disappear? There are many legends about these mysterious creatures. Many civilizations and many tribes have talked about these creatures, but do they really exist, or are they just figments of imagination? In many cultures around the world, mermaids are depicted in different, but very similar ways. The first known mermaid, Atargatis. The mermaid myth first emerged in Mesopotamia around 1000 BC. According to the legend, the goddess Atargatis, mother of the Assyrian queen Semiramis, falls in love with a mortal shepherd. However, the shepherd she fell in love with dies. Atargatis then throws herself into the lake to turn into a fish, but instead of hiding her perfect body by turning it into a fish, the water adds a fish tail to her human body and gives her the ability to breathe in water. Thus, Atargatis became the first known mermaid. Osir mytologes and Atargatis, bur insanin kalarina ve bakaklarina sa bangkak fasladan bur balak korugu olan biri olarak tasver edalar. The Assyrian goddess Atargatis is carried into Greek culture through commercial and military interactions. In Greek myths, which were introduced to the cult of Atargatis through merchants and mercenaries, Atargatis appears under the name Derkido, and often as another form of Aphrodite. One of the most interesting myths about these half-human, half-fish creatures is that sea cows are believed to have had a great influence on the emergence of mermaids. One example that supports this theory is that Christopher Columbus said he saw mermaids during his voyage to the New World, but they were so ugly that he expected them to be more attractive. The arms of large-bodied marine mammals, such as sea cows, have evolved and resemble human arms so that they can carry their young in a cradle. It is quite possible that sailors saw these cetaceans and thought they were supernatural creatures. The long wavy hair in traditional depictions of mermaids is thought to be the result of the long hair sea cows grow from the seaweed that wraps around their heads as they swim near the ocean's surface. The common information provided by those who claim to have seen mermaids is also quite consistent with the colors of seaweed and the characteristics of sea cows. Mermaids of ancient Greece, sirens. The mythological equivalent of these creatures for the Greeks was the sirens, who lived not only in the seas but also in many different water sources. In Greek mythology, the name of the mermaid meant swindler or binder. There were many similarities between sirens and the mermaids we know. However, sirens were different from mermaids in some ways. Sirens, like mermaids, were half human and half fish and were as beautiful as mermaids. But unlike mermaids, sirens had two tails and were more dangerous creatures. These beautiful creatures would lead sailors astray with their enchanting songs and cause their deaths. According to mythology, the sirens live on an island called Surinam Scopuli, surrounded by cliffs and rocks. Sirens sing songs to attract sailors with their uniquely beautiful voices. Impressed by both the music and the beauty of the sirens, the sailors drive their ships onto the rocks and perish at the hands of the sirens. Sirens are very good at bewitching sailors, and only 3 sailors have ever survived them: Jason, Argo, and Odysseus. Mermaids of the Isle, Scottish Selkies. Sea creatures are frequently seen in different forms in Celtic mythology due to being an island country. One of these forms is the Selkie, a fish-human creature. Unlike other mermaid legends, Selkies can live both on land and in the sea. The Selkies, which have a tail just like a fish at sea, come ashore once a year, on the 12th night of the month when the water temperature is at its lowest. Once on land, they can peel off their scaly skin and transform into a perfect human form. However, this skin peeling is quite risky. Because if a human takes possession of the skin they peel off, the Selkies become that person's prisoner and must become that person's mate. They can never return to the sea because they no longer have the skin of a fish. Alexander the Great's sister was also a mermaid. There is another interesting story about the mermaid myth. This time the source of the story is an ancient Greek folk tale. According to legend, Alexander the Great's sister Thessalonike died in 295 AD and was transformed into a mermaid. Thessalonike lives in the Aegean Sea and intercepts passing sailors and asks them a question: "Is King Alexander alive?" If the sailors answer that he is alive, that he has ruled and conquered the world, she does not harm the sailors and lets them go on their way. But any other answer is not accepted by Thessalonike. In such a case, she becomes enraged, storms the sea, and kills the sailors on the spot. The uniquely beautiful mermaid of the Caribbean, Achaia. Achaia is the name given to the legend of the mermaid in nations such as Puerto Rico and Cuba, which are also referred to as Neo-Taino nations of the Caribbean. Achaia means woman with a beautiful voice in the local language. Apart from having a beautiful voice, Achaia is described as having a provocative beauty. She is depicted as the embodiment of beauty and sin. Achaia has the ability to steal the free will of the men she impresses with her beauty. The Mermaid and the 1001 Nights. In the tales of 1001 Nights, mermaids are mentioned as follows. Unlike the legends, these mere people live on land, but when they enter the water they can breathe without any difficulty, and their clothes do not get wet when they enter the sea. In addition, when they have sexual intercourse with humans, their children are also mere people like themselves. As a human being, sea people are no different from human beings in appearance. Mermaids in British sources. Mermaids have been referred to in British culture as ominous creatures, harbingers of disaster. Some are gigantic, up to 50 meters long. English language sources also mention men of the sea, that is, mermen. Sea men are much more fierce and ugly, but they are interested in people and treat people with optimism. Man of the sea. The merman, or merman, is the mythical male counterpart of the mermaid. The two species are incredibly similar. From the waist up, mermen have the shape of a man, but from the waist down, they look like fish, with scaly fish tails instead of legs. Merboys are young mermen. Unlike mermaids, mermen are traditionally depicted as ugly. However, some modern depictions show them as handsome. Mermaids are thought to be unreal because no tangible evidence has yet been found, and even if mermaids were real, they would not be alive today because we are polluting our seas and oceans at an incredible rate. I hope we all meet a real mermaid one day. For all the beautiful mermaids, you can subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications, and like the video. You can continue to watch all kinds of historical and mythological information on this channel.